Alright guys, what we have here is my toolkit. A couple guys were asking to see it. So this is, I finally decided to clean my toolbox out, getting ready for the Lano show. It's hard to believe that all of this will fit in there. Well, everything except for the big horse rasp. Even my issue stick breaks down, or I don't use it as an issue stick, it's my indirect tool now. Anyways, I'll go over a little bit of it with you. I use solid copper for 99% of my percussion. I rarely use this one except for breaking down big nodules after I've spalled with my hammers. But my favorites are probably these three right here, which is an 1.5 inch copper. All solid. I like the solid billets because you're never lacking for power. It's always there. A few of the disadvantages to the solid copper, though, is if you make a mistake, it magnifies the mistake. So these are a little bit chewed up. I use the horse rasps to clean these. I use a rough side and just kind of drag them over and clean up the ends. And they last forever. I've actually had these two here since I started napping. Of course, there were several years there I didn't use the smaller one. And I've actually cut off about 2 inches of them because they were about 6 inches long when I started. And they were just too long and cumbersome to use. But these fit the hand really well. They're right around 4 inches. But you can see my early use where I beat up on the side of that thing when I didn't know what I was doing. But these work really well once you get used to them. Now they're all solid. It goes from 1.5 inches here. These are both the 1.5 inches. Just one is a little longer. This is 1.25 inches, I believe. 1 inch, 7/8, and these three are 3/4. One's a 4 inch, a 3 inch, and then just a little solid head. I think that they sell there on Flint Napping Tools, Mark Bracken's. And I trimmed it off shorter and made it 3 inches so that it fit my hand better. Seemed to work. My Spalling Hammers. This is the one that Mark Bracken sells. I'm not sure what that thing is. It feels like maybe 4 pounds, 3 or 4 pounds. And this guy here, I got it from Curtis Smith. He had picked it up on the road, and I'm guessing it's probably about 8 pounds. It will really drive some gigantic flakes or spalls. Really great on big stone. And then just a little moose billet that a buddy gave to me. I don't use it a whole lot, but it does work well when you decide to, when I decide to use it, but it's just not my thing. I do use it sometimes for striking my indirect. And then just a little cleanup pressure flaker here. It's about worn out. As you can see, it's just whitetail. A couple of punches I use for punch notching. This one, it's a really hard kind of galvanized steel, and I don't know if I'm going to get that to show up or not. It's not wanting to focus on it. Here, let's try this. Just a pretty sharp little deal on there. And this one I haven't used in a while. It's set in the bottom and turned black, but just a copper flattened out. Works well for making andice points, that sort of thing. Then, of course, pressure flakers, just your basic run-of-the-mill pressure flaker. Now this is my notching tool. It's the same as this kind of nail here, and this is about half the length of the original nails. These things are probably, I think, 7 inches long or something like that. But yet I had to cut them off to put them in here. I think I can get like 5 or 6 inches, but you can really leave these things hanging way out there. And this is even at a large tip here. See if I can get it to focus in. Maybe not. There we go. But you can even take these things down to where they're like a horseshoe nail, and it's really hard to bend. I like them a lot. Then of course my hinge picker. Just a little sharp edge. You can reach up there and pull your hinges off. And then my Hammerstone / Braiders. This is my favorite little braider here. And sometimes I like to use it to actually set up the platforms, you know, by using it as a hammerstone and then grinding really quickly with it. You can see it's got a few striations where I've ground with it. And this one's a little bit finer. I actually knocked a chunk out of it a few weeks ago. But it works better for when you need some finer or braiding. And this is my really fine and little finish tool. I like to clean up a little of the small hinges. Or not hinges, deltas. Now the reason this is in there is an old broke tip, but I ground the edges of it really, really heavy. I like to reach up into the notches after I'm through and kind of take out the sharp edges, especially on corner tangs, because they showed that they kind of came back and really did that on the inside. This tool here is just again another really heavy ground piece of flint. I like to crush off the little thin fingernail hinges sometimes with it. It works really well for doing that. And that way it doesn't leave any kind of metal marks if you don't want to actually pick them, you know. And then just some random stuff over here. I couldn't live without this. With using a solid copper, you just have to have something that'll, you know, take the nicks out of the tip of the tool really quick. And then just a double cut bastard file. Works really well. But anyways, this is pretty much my kit. Oh, I didn't show my issue stick. I put a really large tool, head on, or tip in this end. This is actually, I believe, 3/8 copper. And that's pretty much my actual setup too. It needs to be cleaned, but I only hit the one side of this thing when I'm driving those flakes. And this one is just a 1/4 inch on this end. I like to narrow it in like that. Bevel back the top edge. So that it'll take the flake and it won't just fold back real quick. And you can really drive some pretty large flakes with this. If I can do it with percussion, I'll do it with percussion. But if you want like a larger pressure flake look, that's when I switch to this indirect. Anyways, that's my kit.